What is up, winning team, and welcome back to another episode of I Told You So. And the topic of today, the character of the moment I would like to discuss is none other than young Philly. Now, a lot of you guys probably didn't know who he was until he got himself caught up in Australia on, charges of some potential predatory behavior. Then they decided to keep him and detain him until they can go forth with the full judicial process. Listen, I used to watch, Border Security, whatever, is like my favorite random TV show to watch. Listen, the Australians, they don't play games out there. They don't play games in general. And I'm saying, so yeah, young Philly got himself caught up over there in a situation, and this is a situation I long saw coming. This was another one of those similar to me in the Mr. Beast thing, right? You have a character, somebody that is well loved, right? For whatever reason. Now, obviously with Mr. Beast, it's because of he's giving out free money and the world is a slave to money. So of course, whoever's giving out free money, listen, you got the people hook, line, and sinker with that one. That's the best bait you can be throwing out into the waters, right? And reeling in the population with money, right? But then we have Philly over here, and now here's my take, because I'm somebody who's known about him for a long time. Some of you would have only heard about him for the first time, so I'm going to give you my take on the situation and my whole journey. So it's ironic, right? In the United Kingdom, right, there are a couple of different big groups amongst the young folk. That are all guys, one of which being Beta Squad, one of which being the Sidemen. Now, I talk about the Sidemen all the time. I have to say, and I must keep stating this, that I'm very much not in favor of KSI anymore. And I feel like he's ruining it for everybody else, but that's a conversation for another day. Actually, I'm going to make a video about that. Hold on. So, young Philly isn't in Beta Squad, but a lot of people think he is. He isn't. He's just he was very close with a lot of the guys in the squad, and this is actually part of why I want to talk about this whole situation, because there's just so many layers to this. Especially because I spotted the behavior was off from the beginning. And one of the things that I want to address in this video, as I've said to you guys before, is one thing that truly bothers me about humanity, and particularly a lot of men, unfortunately, is when you have creepy friends around you that you just tolerate. And you keep them as your friends, because then we have to open the door to the question of how many people are actually to blame if you knew that this person had funky behavior, right? So, for example, we'll come back to that. So that's how I came to know about him, through some of these online videos, different videos. There's a lot of brands and channels that utilize some of these younger creators to promote their YouTube channels, and they do all these cool different series. A lot of good stuff on there. And so I quickly moved off of the Beta Squad onto the Sidemen, because the Sidemen just were more consistent in filming, and they just have a lot more content going out, honestly. And also they're very unpolitical in general. They're very just, they don't really like to get involved in stuff. And I feel like because there isn't a religious element to what they do, it kind of makes things easier. Because where I started to have issues was, for me, first of all, was the hypocrisies of the communities of the likes of the Young Phillies and the Beta Squads, right? Because Young Philly was the only Christian one. The rest of them are Muslim, right? So most of them are Muslim, except from, I think, Nico's not Muslim. But yeah, so I had some issues with the general hypocrisy of not representing your belief system well, but by doing one thing for your belief system while not doing another. So, for example, a lot of in the Beta Squad, they'll do things like, oh, we don't drink, or like, I use Chunks as a perfect example, because they're known as like a duo. They became like a popular duo together. And so Chunks would say stuff like how he doesn't drink. He gave up singing. He's got an incredible singing voice because he feels like it goes against his beliefs and it wouldn't be for the best. But at the same time, you overlook this kind of behavior of your friend, and at the same time, they're always making jokes about all this behavior they have surrounding women. So I'm just a bit like, that for me was off, because I'm like, either just show yourself as who you are and just stand on business, or you know what I mean? Or change so that you're just authentic, basically. So that was my little intro into all of that, right? And so I never, slowly but surely, I moved over to the Sidemen, and I was not really watching so much of their content anymore because I just found it kind of annoying from a religious standpoint. And also, I really noticed early on that Philly's behavior was really uncomfortable, but he kind of got away with it because people said he was funny. Obviously, he's built a lot of his audience as young people, like kids, young boys. This is very much a 14-year-old boy. Like Beta Squad and like the Sidemen is very much 14-year-old boy kind of content. You know what I'm saying? So I know that for a lot of these creators, it's similar to Mr. Beast with how he built up his whole platform, really. And a lot of these platforms, that's the worrying part, are built up from children, right? Because they're just left there unsupervised on the internet. They think these jokes are funny. They think anything virtually is funny because as long as it's something that's a little bit adult, a little bit outside of what they think they're supposed to be being able to be joking about, then they love it, right? But then when I look at it from my standpoint, especially as a woman, especially because there was certain a lot of types of certain content that young Philly would be involved in, which were involved, going on speed dates and all these different things, right? He did this series called Does the Shoe Fit, where they all would try and date these same couple of girls and then see who she would choose. He did a 20 versus 1 with the Sidemen. I don't know if you guys know the format of 20 versus 1, but yeah, 20 versus 1 with the Sidemen. Lots of different little things, and it was always funny with him about how he would act around women, but I felt like he was out of control. I always felt like he was so out of control in his behavior, like as in he took it too far. He was too ready to just be touching people and feeling entitled, because obviously a lot of these women, and this is where we as women can also contribute to the problem, right? A lot of these women, they will allow this stuff because the sake of, like, obviously if they're on these shows, they are there to promote themselves in some way. A lot of them are promoting adult content. They're actually, make adult content anyway. So they don't mind blurring the lines. By the way, the fact that the adult population were banging that song on the radio, Blurred Lines, is crazy. Y'all talking about, we hate predators. No, you don't. You protect them, and you guys are delusional. You think you actually don't like predators because you be protecting them. You be protecting them, and then the truth seekers you be calling conspiracy theorists for saying there's no way that happened, even though you wasn't even there. Or, like with Young Philly, you'll be ignoring the signs when they're right in front of you, because just like how with Diddy, when Diddy came out with all this problem, and everyone's all like, we should have known, the signs were there. That's what people are saying about Philly now. The signs were there. And the thing for me that's crazy about the situation is, like, the way that they've described it is they've said the reason why they're not even releasing evidence is because apparently, whatever physical violence took place against this woman was so bad that, like, that's why they were able to keep him and not have to release him or send him back here or allow him to come back here and then go back there, because the evidence was so heavy. Like, she had been left in such a horrific state. And this is what I'm trying to say to you guys. We as a society are responsible for each other to an extent, right? We're responsible for whatever position you're in that moment for you to do something, right? So that's why, like I said, me in teaching, if I'm in a position where I see there's something off with a kid, I can make a life-changing choice on behalf of a child, and it can be something so very small. Something so very small, right? But because I'm there, I can either choose to ignore it and let everything continue and let everything keep cascading down into chaos, or I can take advantage of the position I'm in that moment and make a difference. And that's where I have an issue. And this is why I even mentioned the difference between Beta Squad and Sidemen and why I kind of had a problem over there. Because I felt like, and even now, they're all very quiet about what's gone on, right? KSI is problematic, but I have to give it to the Sidemen that they call him out. Not only do they call him out in their own videos and make videos about stuff he does, they call him out in the videos. I'm going to talk about KSI and the Sidemen in a separate video, but they call him out in the videos so people can see that they're not just like turning a blind eye when it's like convenient and not saying anything and just moving on with life and just carrying on. No, they do actually hold him accountable, which is why I'm worried about the Sidemen, but we'll come to that, like I said, in a separate video. What I want to really talk about here is less so much of what Philly's done, but more so the fact that the signs were there. You know, the adults that were around, these people who claim to be these religious folks. And again, this is what I'm saying. What's the point? What's the freaking point? What's the point? And I'm sick of this being the case, right? Obviously, you know, we know what we know about Islam because we did a whole series reading the Quran. If you guys haven't been here, if you guys are new around here, listen, get to know, because we be doing stuff. We be doing stuff, right? And we all know why we stopped reading that, which I won't get into that to this day, because this is not a video about Islam. This is a video about, you know, your circle and the people around you. You know, and I was so grateful because it was actually a man who said this to me, because they were like, and a man I would not expect would know anything to do about this, right? Because he's a lot older than me, right? One of these men of God that I know personally. It's really ironic how the Lord just, I don't know. I always find myself in the last like few years, every periodically, there will be some man of God, right? Who I'll just seem to find and know through the most randomest of events, right? For like a couple of months. And then it's just like done. But then the wisdom just gets dropped. It's so weird how the Lord is, right? And I specifically prefer like the male of God, because I have a lot of women of God in my life already. Like a lot of my friends are women of God. So I like to hear male perspective. I think there needs to be balance. There needs to be also an older male should have a lot to say if you're a real man of God. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so he was the one who actually brought it up to me. He was like, have you heard about the situation with so-and-so? And he was like, my thing is about his friends, because there's no way his friends didn't know. I was thinking, thank you for being like the only freaking adult person that I know that I've spoken about this with to say that. Thank you for being the only person I've seen in general say that. And this is my problem. As a society, we act like, oh, we care about the kids. We care about justice. We care about putting away predators. No, the freak, you don't. No, you don't. You like to think that you do so that you can feel better about yourself, which is exactly the fundamentals of why I'm against religion as a whole. I hate to go there. I'm going to go there. It's 2025. We ain't holding back. We're doubling down. Like I said, one of my previous videos, I'm doubling down. I'm going to keep doubling down and doubling even harder down about stuff now, right? We say, oh, I do this good deeds, this, so that I can get some kind of score into getting into heaven. There's no need for integrity and character. Because your integrity is not who you are out there in the world, who you are behind the scenes. Because apparently it's all coming out that it's been known that this guy has allegedly done all these things. And been doing it. But of course, as is the nature of society that we live in, he's continued to build his empire. He basically built one of these foot asylum, which I don't know if people have foot asylum in other countries, but foot asylum is it's like Foot Locker, right? But a bit different. It's like Foot Locker means if Foot Locker met JD and was a bit more urban, right? And so, yeah, so he basically built Foot Asylum's channel off of his back. He's built all of these different things. He's made a lot of money. He's known. He even jokes about in his videos, right? About how in a lot of clips he jokes, and this is why I love podcasts, because you see now with short form content, people can hide who they are. This is why I like doing long form content, because there ain't nothing to hide, right? Just things that maybe would be wise I don't say on the internet. But yeah, so like, so he would come out and he would, so he would always say stuff like he would clearly be always wanting to be brand safe, like, because for him, a lot of people said he seems very money driven now that they see him in longer form content, because him and Chunks had a show together. Not to mention the fact, like I said, even on the Chunks and Philly show, and people kept mentioning this clip, which again, we saw a long time ago and should have been the signal. Chunks was like, I would never let you date my sister. That should say something, and not in a like, it will be weird for you to be my sister. Like, you don't meet the requirements. Like, you're actually a bit, and even said, I'm your best friend, but you're not my best friend. He's saying all these things blatantly out loud and all these different things. It's like he knows the character of his friend. He's choosing to be his friend build businesses with him, have influence with him on other people, and be in places with him anyway. This is where I have the problem, and this is where I say, like, people need to hold the people around them accountable. I think as a rule, right? If I, I've had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way, unfortunately. But what I will say to you is this: I could not be with someone or have friends, male friends, who I wouldn't be comfortable. Wait, let me see. Female friends, sorry, who I wouldn't want to be, like around somebody like one of my brothers or, the men in my life. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be with, like, I fell out with girls. This is what I say to you guys. I practice what I preach. I fell out with girls because of how they treated guys. Like I said, there was one girl who I was friends with. This happened a couple of times that I stopped being friends with somebody because of this, right? Because they would have a guy that they liked that was in the friend zone. The guy told them that they liked the girl. The girl knew that the guy liked them, but knew that they didn't like him back, but then kind of strung them along as if like, oh, maybe one day I'll change. I'm just not ready for a relationship right now. It's like, but you're lying because you're not interested in having a relationship with this person ever, because we literally talk about boys all the time. And so you're not interested in them, but you're stringing them along and you're allowing them to like literally do everything for you. I couldn't have a friend like that in my life. I don't operate like that. I don't have friends in my life that I'm not proud to be known to be friends with, that I wouldn't trust in certain scenarios. Even when it comes to my brothers, I say this to my friends, right? I say to them, I've only got one brother who's of age anyway, but like I say to girls, like, if I notice that any of my friends look like they think whatever about my brother, I'll tell them. I've done it before. I'll say, listen, you can actually be with him if you want to be, but just know we can't be best friends. Because I can't be having the type of conversations that I would have with a best friend if you're in a relationship with my brother. That's not going to work for me. But you can go and I'm not to say that I'm going to be mad or anything, just to say that there has to be some boundaries. And also I would want for him to have his own safe space with his own person that has his back. You know what I'm saying? So, I just don't operate like that myself, is basically what I'm trying to say. Like, if I wouldn't entrust you into people around my circle, male or female, you're not going to be in my life. That disqualifies you altogether. If I don't trust you with the people, if I wouldn't trust you, because it's because as soon as you allow it to happen, we're just enabling. We're just enabling, and we become enablers. And enablers, I honestly feel like, need to start to be held accountable as well. Now that would change society. If we started to hold enablers accountable, as in like you being around, supporting, whatevering somebody that's done certain things, and then you actually had the potential to be held accountable for that, that would be a good change in society, I feel. Because now you have to face up to the fact that, oh, I'm actually responsible. And this is why, like I say to you guys, that people are comfortable in their cowardice. You'd rather comfortably remain friends and think what you think behind the scenes and not really say anything and not really bring anything to the table. You'd rather watch them and know that you don't like their behavior and turn a blind eye than stand up for justice. You'd rather continue building empires and doing nice things together than protecting the vulnerable people. So that's all I have to say about that. Like, number one, I knew it. And it's so funny because people will call me a hater when I would say it. I remember even saying to my brothers that I wasn't a big fan of those two, and they were like, oh, you're just hating because da 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 da. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just hating. And, but then, and one of my brothers was a big fan of Young Philly, and I'd always say, no, I can't stand him. But of course, people are blind, right, to what's really going on, right? And then now, on top of it, why has this been going on? And now you see again, it's always a thing. When you're used to getting away with stuff, you just keep pushing forward. That's the humans are built, we are self-indulgent people. And the further into indulgence we go, the further we keep going. That's how the devil works. He takes you further and further and further. That's how our flesh works. The more people get away with things, a lot of people are becoming exposed because they just got cocky. They got prideful. They thought, oh, there's no way anything's going to happen, so I'm just going to continue. And then Young Philly messed with the wrong one when he went to Australia. Because Australians, they don't play games over there. Unlike over here. There's a reason why the Australians were taken to Australia. And the people here are here. And the people in America are in America. There's a very distinct difference between those three nations. Let me tell you. I can tell you for free. There is some very distinctive differences. I could have told you that this isn't going to fly in Australia, my friend, the same way you might think it's going to fly over here. This country is not that bad for going to like prison and stuff. I'll be real. It's really not. They don't really give out big sentences, right? I hear American sentences, they sound so obnoxious. I'm like, damn, everyone's getting like 25, 30, 40 years, 3 life sentences and all of that. Here you get like a community service, a slap on the wrist, and 10-year probation. You know what I mean? But you're in Australia, buddy. I don't know if you've ever looked at that place. They don't play over there. They do not play games over there. When I tell you guys, I used to literally, my go-to TV program, like it was just a random day, and I'm watching TV, which I never watch TV. The only thing that I watch in the middle of the day, because it's always on some channel, Border Security. And it's always the Australians, the ones that are the most interesting ones. I think it's Border Security, they call it. But yeah, I love that show. I love it. It's so fascinating. And just to see like what happens to the people that were trying to smuggle this and do that and do the other and whatever. They take it seriously. They take it hella serious. I would play games flying into an airport in Australia. Like, let me tell you. Anyways, I'll leave that there. But lesson in, I don't know. I said it in the video. Hold on. Let me remember. Enablers should be held accountable just like the predators. That's all I have to say for this video, because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.